Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fiji Forever, Silent Podcast almost spoiler-free recap of Survivor Fiji. While we wait for Survivor 44 to premiere, I will be spending the off-season recapping one of my favorite seasons of all time, Survivor Fiji. Today we'll be covering Episode 5, Love Many, Trust Few, Do Wrong to None, which originally aired on March 8th, 2007. Joining me today are my fellow Silent Podcasters, Josh Kettles and Mark Levy. So let me bring them on the screen. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for
Hey, Gia.
joining me today. It's a big episode.
Yeah.
Like
It
this
really
is there's a lot going on here. I forgot how much happened to in one episode. And mentally I was thinking it kind of spanned out a little bit, but no, this is where the action starts happening. And a lot of the things that I had been wanting to see more of, I'm finally getting more of. Like I know I had said a couple of times I wanted to see more of the dynamics of Moto, and we got a little bit of that last episode, and now we're really getting a lot of it. I said that we wanted to see more of Yao Man on the strategy aspect of it, and now we're finally getting that here, and I'm very excited about all of this. And it's always great to have other silent podcast contributors be excited for the same type of content that I'm excited for. So when you both said that you wanted to be part of this show, I was so happy, and I'm very excited to have you both on here.
Absolutely. Yeah. My life credo is love many, trust few, podcast with even fewer. So I am very happy to be here with both of you, Mark and Gia, to talk about this episode.
I mean, you showed me where it's like tattooed on your knuckles, right? Like,
oh no, it's tattooed in a place that I cannot show on this podcast here.
Very fair.
Yeah, I'm very excited because I know how much you love Fiji. I'm excited because I know how much you love Fiji, and I'm actually pretty pro Fiji myself. I'm a recruit to a Fiji Black Barrel word. But I'm very excited to talk about it, and I'm enjoying my second watch of Fiji right now. So
this is your second watch?
Yeah.
This is your second watch?
Yeah. I never.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never watched it until the pandemic.
Yeah. You never watched it during the pandemic?
No, until the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
All right. Interesting. So I guess that leads into my next question. Anyway, what is your guys' history with Survivor Fiji? I mean, I've already talked about mine a lot. Like, I'm a big fan of the season, and I've been watching it since I've been watching the show since I was about 8, and I watched Fiji when it was in the real time. So I was really excited to finally have a chance to talk about what Fiji means to me specifically, but I'd love to hear more of your guys' story about what was your introduction to Survivor Fiji? What was your initial takeaway from it? Are you having an idea right now? Like, has any of your ideas about Fiji changed or altered in any way? Like, I'd love to hear from both of you about like your journey with Fiji.
Yeah, I'll continue with So when the pandemic started, there were 5 seasons I never watched before. It was Gabon, Fiji, what else? It was like Marquesas, Vanuatu, and Thailand. And I was like, I'm going to watch these seasons I've never watched before. These are like considered bad seasons. I want to see how they are. And I remember watching Fiji, and like I was going to pretty blind considering there's almost no one that's ever returned from that season. Like Yao Man comes back in Micronesia and it's like there for a second basically. So I went to the season fairly blind, and I really enjoyed it. Like I was shocked by how much I enjoyed it. Like it feels a lot like Cook Islands minus the theming of Cook Islands. And I'm enjoying it more this watch than I did the first time. I liked it the first time.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was going to say, I'm so glad to hear that. But yeah, Josh, I'd love to hear about yours as well. I know we talked a little bit about it beforehand, but I'd love for us to talk about it in this format as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I took the deep dive into the Survivor super fandom about 5-6 years ago, I watched all the seasons, and Fiji was part of that watch, of course. But I did rewatch it recently for the second time a few months ago because my wife and I were traveling to Fiji for our 5th anniversary. And so we that was the one she started watching Survivor with me in the Fiji era. Actually, her first season was Millennials versus Gen X. So she's seen every Fiji season except for the OG. So right before we left to go travel to Fiji, we had to go watch it all. So I have traveled to the locations where they filmed the new seasons, but then also, to the same island general area, not walked on the same ground as, the Fiji contestants exactly. But I got to travel to Vanuatu, the island where they filmed Fiji, which, fun fact, is also where they filmed the Australian Survivor seasons that were filmed in Fiji. So that's like the same area that they filmed this OG Fiji season in. So it's fresh on my mind.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And also that answers a lot of questions because there's been a few times where myself and other guests on the show have said this Fiji looks a lot different than the Fiji we have seen in other Survivor seasons that also just happened to take place in Fiji. So there is a difference in the area. It hasn't been the same set over and over, but I am really enjoying going back down memory lane for the OG season. And right here is where we start connecting a lot of the dots that we're kind of in. I feel like we're almost in limbo right now with some of our seasons or with some of the episodes where it's like, all right, I know what's coming, but when is the kickoff period? And now I feel like we have gotten there. Like, I feel like we have gotten to that period where the drama is starting to really heat up, and not just like Rocky getting into fights with everyone and everything possible. Like, it's actually like we are starting to understand the dynamics of both tribes and starting to get an idea of where things might go as we move forward into the season, which is about to get a shakeup as we have seen on the scenes from our next episode. But before we talk about this season or this episode of Survivor Fiji particularly, I do just want to reiterate the rules of this podcast. So as I say in my intro, this is an almost spoiler-free episode or podcast of Survivor Fiji. And when I say almost spoiler-free, it means that we are going to be talking about one important detail, and that is that there is an all-black alliance that the edit never shows. So we will be highlighting them throughout the season. We are going to be righting those wrongs and really discussing the All Black Alliance, which now has 4 members, but started with 5. And I'm very excited to talk about it because it comes up a lot in this episode. So this is going to be a really exciting one to really start getting into the nitty gritty of it all, especially with what we see on Moto. And I'm very excited to finally start talking about it. But as that, we are going to be talking about the All Black Alliance, or as I like to call them, the Fiji Five, because that they need to have a cool name because they deserve it. But we're not going to spoil any of the placements of contestants that are still in the game, and that includes players in the All Black Alliance. But we can talk about everything up to then. And now we can add Rita to our list of individuals whose Survivor Fiji journeys have ended. Sadly, I am sorry, Rita. She was enjoyable, and I'm very sad about how her journey ended this episode. But also, we must protect Anthony. So, she is collateral damage in that mission. But what did you guys think about this episode?
It feels a lot like a more modern season to me, especially with like seeing like what Yao Man and Earl do to try to get that idol for Yao Man. And like it's really interesting because I always felt like Yao Man is such a chaotic character in Fiji. And he is. He's chaos. Like not in a bad way, just a factual, he's kind of, chaotic. And it was fun seeing like how Earl used the exile island of it all to like make a bond. And also like of course the whole motto of it all with Dreams and Cassandra and Alex picking up on things.
Yeah. I forgot how how much I hated watching some of these people on my TV. And that's honestly my biggest takeaway. Like, and I don't even say that too negatively. Like, I like reality TV. There's drama. This episode has some drama. There are good people and there are bad people in this episode. And so I just forgot how cringy some of this stuff is with, we'll get into it, but just with Rocky and with Lacey and Stacy and stuff. And it's just so
and this is
but
not,
one of them has a fun fall.
Yes. This is not the end of this storyline either.
No.
It will come up again. All three so Rocky, Lacey, and Stacy have all stayed in the game, as the rest of Moto has as well. So these storylines are not over. They are continuing. But I feel like this feels like a very important episode for these characters in particular, but also just the story of Fiji overall. Like, this is where we start getting into the meat of things. Like, this is where the drama starts kicking off, and I'm so excited for this. It's going to be, it's such a great episode. And I'm glad, Mark, that you started talking about the Yao Man and Earl situation with the idol, because that's kind of the first thing we're introduced to in this episode. And for such a big entrance that Yao Man had in the premiere, I was surprised by how little we have seen from him in the previous episodes before episode 5. Rewatching it, I was in my memory, Yao Man is just such an impressionable character. He's such a big part of this season. He's the only castaway from this season that has returned for a second time. So, this is something that is definitely kind of fresh in my mind. But then going through the rewatch and actually taking notes of everything that I'm seeing, we don't really see a ton of him in episodes 2 through 4.
Yeah.
But that's changing now, because Yao Man and Earl are starting to really form a bond. And part of this is the fact that they are the only two left that have been to Exile Island. And therefore, they're the only two that know that the idol is at camp. And therefore, because of exactly where the idol is, they're going to need each other's help to locate it. And it seems like Earl is very much okay with the idea that they will be letting this is Yao Man's idol, in part because of the fact that he has more of the clues than Earl does. But he feels like this relationship, this bond between these two, can really be strengthened moving forward in the game, especially if he helps Yao Man find this idol. And I just think this is a master class in how to win allies and influence people here. Like, this is just so great. Like, in a way, they're using each other to get what they want in the game, but you can see that they are very they're a strong duo in this game. They're a force to be reckoned with within the Moto camp. And as far as I know, I don't think any of them have been a serious target up to this point. So this is a very powerful duo within the Ravu camp.
I'm kind of amazed that Earl hasn't been thought of as a target, considering he, if in my mind, if I was on the Ravu camp, starving like they all are, losing my mind like most of them are, I would definitely be like, he's been exiled so many times. He has the idol. Like that's where my brain would be. And the game he's playing, he doesn't necessarily need an idol, which is huge,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think part of this has to do with, one, the fact that this season is all recruits except for Papa Smurf, who we sadly lost this past episode. But so I don't think some of these players are thinking about the game as in depth as what we're seeing from Earl, for example, because he's really thinking about how he's going to get allies to progress himself further in the game, which is pretty advanced thinking for someone that really hasn't seen the show before this point. So that part is really interesting. But I think there's also this overarching idea in in old school Survivor that Exile Island is a punishment. in the very early season, what we saw with Yule in the season before, they kept sending him because they saw him as the strongest player on his tribe, and they wanted to weaken him by continuously sending him to Exile Island, not really thinking about the fact that like they were going to give them this incredibly powerful advantage by sending them over there so many times and giving him so many opportunities to find it. And that's, I think, to a lesser extent of what we're seeing here, because Earl and Yao-Man, because they're the only two that have gone, I think that a lot of the players that are on there, there's a chance that they have an idol, but I don't think they're actually really thinking about what an idol could actually mean in the game, like what the damage could be of an idol. But also, I don't think that they're really, even if they are thinking like this could be a big deal down the line, I think they're more so thinking that, Earl's being punished because he's always going to Exile Island, as opposed to, like, we can't target Earl, or we need to get him out immediately because he might have an idol. We're just not at that level of strategic possibilities quite yet. I don't think a lot of players in the older versions of Survivor are really thinking about or really processing how powerful an idol can really be.
Yeah.
Is this no, I don't know, because it might be a spoilery, but like, is this the last season where that's thought of that way, like Exile Island?
I think Exile Island comes up more, but I think so. We first got introduced to Exile Island in Panama,
right?
And I don't think it was in Palau. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. So
it had a brief moment in Palau where Janu was there for like one
right.
night.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So we
But,
did have that, and then I don't think it was in Guatemala. So there's only been. Oh wait, was Guatemala after or before Palau?
It was
after.
It was okay.
Palau's 10, and Stephanie's in both.
Okay, so. Yeah. So, so that's a whole other conversation, but we've only had it for a few seasons, and this is also the first time that they've had the idol in this format. So it's much.
That's true.
This is another level of complication to it, because I think like the way of thinking for the previous season was we can't vote out Yule because he's just going to play his idol if we do that. And then whoever he votes for goes home. And like, that was something similar to what happened with Terry Dietz in Panama. And we're just spoiling all the other Survivor seasons at this point. But, like this has been a recurring thing. And now they have an idol that is significantly less powerful. But I would argue that like it's far more effective in terms of television. So I think that this is, something that they haven't quite figured out yet for multiple reasons.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, I know we talked about it, but just Earl, I'm just going to read Earl's confessional because he gave about this.
Please do, because I love this confessional.
Yeah, no, it might make the list at the end of the episode here, but we'll see. There's a couple contenders, but he just says, I like Yao. I just want to build that trust with him and say, okay, Yao, you can trust me. I have your back. When it comes down to it, me just helping him get the idol is a good move. And I know, Mark, you kind of alluded to this episode feeling kind of like a little bit more like a modern episode. And this confessional feels like very modern Survivor in the best way, in the way that he's even using the word move. Now, I know I'm not getting the big moves or all that kind of stuff that comes later, but like just the idea of like him thinking of building trust with somebody is a move in the game.
Yeah.
It is just like, it just shows that like he's definitely thinking on a level that's a little bit different than majority of the cast. There's one other person who I would say is also thinking similarly, which we'll get to later. But this quote definitely just like stuck out to me. This quote, and then also bookended with Yao-Man's quote at Tribal Council also just, I think, two of the best strategic quotes from this era of Survivor.
Yeah, and the fact that both of them are working together on Ravu should be terrifying to everybody else on this island, like Moto included, because like these are two of arguably like very strategic strategic players on a cast that is, we'll get to the other end of the strategic thinking in a bit. Not quite yet, but it's coming. trust me on this one. We'll have a lot to talk about with Moto.
Yeah.
But then this isn't even the end of my praise for Earl and Yao-Man in this first half of this first piece of the episode, I should say, not half. But then the next day we get into, they're starting to kick off their plan to actually go get the idol that they need to get. And this is when Earl leads the rest of the tribe to start going to hunt for food that they could find, because they are so low on resources that they really need to start getting everything together and start. But while they're doing that, they're saying Yao-Man is going to go tend the fire, but really that means Yao-Man is idol digging, and they don't even say anything about this. Like, Earl doesn't say, like, all right, I'm going to go do this, and Yao-Man, you're going to go look for the idol, so like play it cool. He does this on his own, putting enough faith into Yao-Man that like he's going to know what to do during this time. And again, thinking about this, because this is definitely reason to cause suspicion for other people in the tribe if you start putting the puzzle pieces together of like, well, Earl's the one that suggested this, and Yao-Man's the one that is left at camp, and both of them been at Exile Island. I wonder if there's something there, but they just do it so naturally, and for so few times for the possibility of like getting caught in what they're actually trying to do here. So even though, spoiler for anyone that has not seen episode 5 yet, so even though we sadly do not get an idol find in this episode, we do not see Yao-Man or Earl finding any idol here. It was great. It was a great opportunity to see just how strong of players that Earl and Yao-Man are in these early stages of the game. And I think that we're really, for the Survivor analysts like us, we're actually starting to see just how dedicated they are to this game right now, like just how strongly they're thinking about these things. And what you said earlier, Josh, about Earl thinking about helping Yao-Man find this idol to build trust is a move. I agree. I really like this idea of, we think about like, oh, if you let someone else find an idol, you're kind of like the passenger player. You're not really playing for yourself. Why would you want someone else to find an idol? But in this specific circumstance, it makes perfect sense for Earl to be doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just, even though it doesn't work out with finding the idol immediately, just like the influence you can see with Earl, not only his relationship with Yao-Man, but influence over the entire tribe in this moment. I love that helicopter shot of him and Anthony up on top of the mountain. I think this season has the most iconic helicopter shots, of maybe any season. I mean, you got to remember, like, this is not, drones weren't a thing. Like, this is like expensive, like helicopters that they're booking to like, film this kind of stuff. So the fact that they have some of these shots in there of people like on top of like the mountain like that, filmed from a 360-degree view like that, just it's so fun.
It was such a beautiful shot, and it was also very nice to see. This was like as nice of an episode as we are going to get of Ravu in these early stages of the game, because like we have this really nice moment with Anthony too, where he feels like a renewed sense of self in the game after being so downtrodden for this past episode. Like episode 4 was a really tough time for Anthony, and I think he's finally starting to feel more confident in himself, be a little more comfortable. We know that he has a solid alliance with Earl, at least, who we have been singing Earl's praises for the first 25 minutes of this podcast. So, that's a good ally to have on his end. So I think that this was just like a very heartwarming moment for me too, because I want to see Anthony do well. So I like seeing his wins along the way as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we get to our next dilemma of the episode, which is that Moto and Ravu both get a catalog with their tree mail for the reward challenge, and they both get to pick 2 things from the catalog that they want to win. If their tribe wins the episode or wins the challenge, they will receive both things in that they have picked in the catalog, and if they lose, they obviously get nothing. First of all, why on earth is Moto playing for anything at this point? Because they don't need any more fucking things. I'm sorry, like they don't need it. Why are you even giving them the option? They should just be playing for a high five from Jeff, and that is it. They do not need anything else here.
It's a joke. Like it's like ridiculous. Like how much everyone's starving in Ravu, and Meadows like,
starving, bro.
What kind of coffee should we have? Like it's like, why have a variety of coffee? Like why have silverware at Survivor? Like,
that coffee will be a plot point later. That is Chekhov's coffee, French. Chekhov's fresh press, actually.
Oh God,
so yes, so that will be the source of a lot of drama moving forward, which is fair because I would fight someone for my coffee.
Are we watching Survivor or Real Housewives at this point? Like,
oh my God, I would love if they had the cast do Real Housewife intros. Like, that would be amazing.
It's just so sad when you get to the reward challenge and you see what they chose. Like, Ravu's like the most essential things they can need, and Moto's just like coffee. And comfort, and toilet paper.
I love that little tip that Earl and Rocky had.
I know.
Where Rocky's like, oh, like, let's just pick one thing we need, and then another thing that we want, and then Earl's like, no, like we're picking two things out that we really need. Like, he doesn't, he's not as forceful as I'm making him sound here, but he was very clear, and by this time you see their selections, it's very obvious that. It's point number 112 that Rocky's an idiot and,
well, okay,
does not know what's going on out there.
From the things that we saw or heard about, what reward picks would you two want, and which ones would you feel like you would end up going for? Because I'm very curious. I love these reward challenges where you either get a choice or there's some type of temptation in it. So I'm very excited to hear about this.
Okay, so before I give my answer, are we like living like in a Moto style camp or Ravu style camp or like
camp? Good question. Very important.
I guess
we can do one each. One each. Mark can pick the haves and I can do the have-nots, or vice versa.
So like think of yourself as like an average Survivor player, and then so like think about the rewards that jumped out to you the most. But then like Mark, you're on Moto. What are you picking?
This is like day 12 or so. No, like day
day 12. Yeah.
I'm going like I'm on Moto, so like I have like a butler fanning me, giving me foot massages. I have a generator.
You might need a new hammock because Boo keeps falling out of it. So that might be something.
Like
to
if I was in that position, if like that comfortable, I probably would choose either like a pastry situation or pillows.
Pillows. You can never have too many pillows. I think pillows is always a good answer.
I mean, comfort's big for you and me, Gio. We know this. Like we've gone on saying that Gabler's palm front move is not a bad thing. But if you have the Egyptian blanket of palm fronts on you, that is Survivor Fiji from Moto.
That was $1 million palm front. Who would have thought we would be thinking about that at this time? But yes, as a lady of leisure, I too see the importance of a nice pillow at camp.
Yeah.
All right.
Josh is like grains.
I guess since I'm representing, the Ravu mentality, and I'm starving, bro. I just got to get a few more of those in there because Rocky
comes up several times.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh my God, Rocky! I can't believe he's still in this. I can't believe he's still there.
I love him.
Yeah.
This is insane. But okay,
I would pick. I think the fishing is the best. It has the most potential to like feed you. I don't know if I could actually fish out there or anything. I did see a few Fijian fishermen fishing somewhat in the same area as this thing, and it looked very difficult. So I don't know. Hopefully there's someone else out there that could do it for me.
But also think about, you have Yowman on your tribe as well. So do you need to know the Fijian fishing method? I'm sure he has something cooked up for like, this is how you fish, guys, with like a coconut and this twine I found over there.
Side note, best fish tacos I've ever had was Barracuda tacos in Fiji, on that island in Vanuatu. Okay.
All right,
That
so
sounds delicious.
So Gia and I are gonna go out there.
Yes, we're gonna have to go to Fiji.
Let's do it.
All right, then I think the second thing, I think this is what they chose, but I can't remember exactly. But I do think the big sack of potatoes or whatever it was. I think you just gotta go pure sustenance. I mean, I'm not a big hunger guy. Like I don't want to be hungry out there. I think I could deal with the elements and stuff. Fiji's pretty temperate, but yeah, if we could just get some food like that, fish and some potatoes.
Like potatoes are smart. They like don't spoil for like weeks.
Yeah, I think there was even like some fruit as an option as well, or like things that are going to expire within the next day or so. So that is like clearly a comfort for immediately right now. But
calories.
Also,
I just want calories.
Yeah, exactly. And which is like as if Moto needs more calories. Like this is the tribe, like they're living in the lap of luxuries. Yes.
Like what's
that's literally all they're missing is like a butler at this point.
I forget who says the Fresh Prince versus Good Times.
Oh, that was Earl. That is that is also one of my favorite confessionals of the season, truly, because I have seen both the Fresh Prince and Good Times, and that made me laugh so hard when I first heard it. But that is also another really great confessional here. We have a lot. Earl is killing it in like the first 10 minutes of the episode.
Totally. No, absolutely.
He does not miss. And I think I would do. Okay, so if I don't have fishing gear, I feel like that's the thing you need to get, right? It's like if you don't have it, get the fishing gear. I feel like that's like a definite for any Survivor tribe. Mm-hmm. If I was in Ravu's situation, I do think they made the correct choice with the potatoes. But if I am like making this choice for myself and want to just pick the things that immediately I'm like, we need this, I would pick. If there, I don't know if there was a tarp in there, which I guess they don't need because they were in a because they were in a cave. But I feel like you want to get a tarp also, so that's also a need. But if I'm talking about like what I want immediately, it's got to be like a blanket and coffee, or pillows and coffee. Maybe forsake the blankets or pillows for chocolate cake. I
the queen wants a chocolate cake.
Well, I'm like, the man wants chocolate cake. They've been starving for like 12 days at this point. Like, let the man have some chocolate cake. He's just in a permanent bad mood at this point.
Like, talking makes him angry at this point. Like,
and oddly enough, this is not the only time this episode that I kind of side with Rocky here. So I was very annoyed with myself rewatching this episode, but it's fine. It's fine. So we get to the reward challenge. And as you said, Josh, it becomes abundantly apparent why they choose each thing. Like they're just rubbing it in Ravu's face at this point, where Ravu goes with the necessities with the fishing gear, which Jeff points out Moto has 2 of them, and the pot and potatoes, and then Moto goes with the coffee and was it pillows?
Toiletries. I remember seeing toilet paper.
Oh yeah, the toiletries. So also, you don't need to shower on Survivor, so that's another thing.
But they have running water and electricity, and
it's just so unnecessary.
They built a house.
Anyway, but then they don't even know what the challenge is at this point, and Rocky gets into a fight, which is so impressive to me. So he comes in and Jeff points out that Boo is eating a mango with on his way in, which pisses Rocky off. And I agree with Rocky here because Boo was complaining about chivalry 1 episode earlier. It's like, Boo, where is the chivalry here? What happened to it? I guess he decided they don't need to do it anymore, or maybe he's just being petty, which in that case, like, I respect it a little bit more. But I do agree with Rocky in this scenario. And I'm like, yeah, wait a minute. You were the one complaining about them cheering on their win earlier. So I don't know, but there was a lot of drama before the episode even, or before the challenge even started. And then I guess Dreams laugh, and Rocky also took that personally. So once they actually hear what the challenge is, which is, it's like a sumo type, like the bag, it's a face-off. They gotta like pummel each other off the platform. Not in water this time, which is very rare. They actually are just kind of in a little mud pit, which is kind of nice. I feel like that's a nice like difference from what they normally do. So good on them for that. But then I guess Dreams laughs at something, and Rocky immediately challenges him to a face-off.
Yeah, like no, I loved the instant karma of just Rocky running his mouth, cashing a check writing a check that he can't cash, and then Dreams just puts him right in the mud.
And like also Rocky, Dreams has been eating, and he's also like very much in shape already. He's a cheerleading
Rocky's in shape though. Like Rocky is in shape. Like
but Dreams has been eating. But also Dreams is a cheerleading coach at the time that he is that this is filmed. So like you can assume he is active on a regular basis. So I think that of the players that you are going to be facing in this challenge, Dreams and Boo are like the two that I'm like, absolutely not. Please, I will just walk off this platform myself. There is no need for us to fight. I will take the L here.
I mean, some people do feel like that basically happens.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like the energy Rocky is giving in this is like 8-pound chihuahua just barking at everyone while shaking his 8-pound chihuahua, and existence is pain. And like literally they like get at it's boom.
Yeah.
And like it's just like this is not a challenge at all for Moto.
No.
It is not. And they demolish Ravu. Ravu wins. I actually do like this in the face-off, and I hate when they do like, okay, best of 10 or something, because that means you can end it really early, but this one is best to 7. But it hardly makes a difference here because Ravu is demolished by Moto here, probably because Moto has been eating once again. We do get a win with Yao Man fighting Stacy, which I loved. And then they redo it, and they go back to basically Cassandra versus Rita is the last face-off, and Rita stands no chance. That like immediately they start, and she falls right off at it. It's like you miss it. Yeah. So Cassandra Franklin, challenge beast. What a queen.
Don't mess with her.
Don't mess with Cassandra Franklin, and I love it. That is really just like the moral of this season of Survivor is that Cassandra Franklin is queen and we stand. And so Moto wins. They get all their extra shit that they don't need. Good for them.
It's Moto, like here's walls.
Moto
extra beds.
Still very sad. I think let's talk about Exile Island and Ravu like before the immunity challenge, and then we can get into Moto because Moto's got a lot of screen time here. So Moto wins, and they immediately send Earl back to exile, and he basically just gets all the same clues that Yao Man has, plus one more that is so redundant. It is such a useless clue. I don't think I've ever seen a more useless clue in Exile Island history. But basically, so after the clue number 4, which basically says find the highest point in the cave and dig, the clue that Earl gets in addition to all of those clues are under the entrance, under the ground, right where you're lying, the idol is found. So basically saying
it's 2 feet away from where Yaman was digging.
Yeah. Keep digging, essentially, is what happens here. And it does nothing because he already knew that. He knew what he had to do, and this doesn't really make too much of a difference. So Earl's hoping that Yao Man can find the idol, but as far as he knows at this point, he has not found it. And as far as we know, he hasn't found it either. But the Exile Island portion of this episode was very short, and I feel like that it didn't need to have anything extra. We've seen Earl at Exile Island. I think this is his third time now, or yeah, I think this is his third time. So he's our, he knows the drill at this point, and he knows where the idol is. They just got to find it. So that's all we get from Exile Island here. And then
my
we get
one anecdote.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. My one anecdote.
Continue.
I just want to say first of all, Exile Island, I found this out, is for sale. If you want to buy that island, you can purchase it. I don't know how much money, but you can. It's listed online. Secondly, when I was out there, every time I did see a couple of those snakes, the deadly sea snakes, quote unquote, which are very real. Yeah. I was in the ocean, one swam right by me. And if you're bit, you have to get helicoptered to a hospital. So, but the thing is they don't attack humans for, basically any reason. So it's a little overblown, from what the show says, of course, but but every time I saw one, I thought of, Earl's Saving Private Ryan quote from a couple episodes ago, where I was man, if I had a machete, I would chop this thing too right now,
Are you telling me that Survivor sometimes throws things out of proportions?
What?
Sometimes.
Say it ain't so. I refuse. I refuse to admit such a thing. Oh, but we get lots of new drama on Ravu, and we only get it for like 5 minutes of the episode, but it's enough because, shocker, guys, Rocky is annoyed. But this time, yes, I know, but this time he's not annoyed at Anthony. He's annoyed at Rita and Michelle because apparently they talk too much. And I have to admit, I love this kind of drama on Survivor where it's very low level, but because you're all stuck on an island, especially in the conditions that Ravu is, it is so much more irritating.
Yeah,
it's like, because especially when they're trying to take a nap. And I'm not saying that Michelle and Rita are in the wrong, but the montage they give us of this is so funny. Like, oh my God, it's great. I'm obsessed with this.
Yeah.
I do wonder when they were going through the casting process, trying to find like people that they can like use in interesting ways. Like, how much were they convinced that Rocky was going to be the next Ozzy?
Oh, the next Ozzy? What do you mean by that?
Like good looking dude, kind of like a ladies' man type character. Like probably a cop beast like Ozzy is. But like this guy like is insane once he has no calories in his body. I don't know.
I don't know. I think they were. I don't think they necessarily thought he was going to be an Aussie, but I definitely think they saw him as a wild character. Like, this was going to be the straight shooter. This is going to be the person that tells it like it is, in quotes, and like this is going to be a very strong presence on the island. But so I'm assuming that this process, they decided that he was just going to be this kooky character for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah. And I got to say, like, I don't like what Rocky says 90% of the time, but how he says it is actually, I got to give him a little credit. He's very colorful. Like, this is one of 2 confessionals where people are saying they're going to kill themselves because of how their tribe is treating them or how they're experiencing their tribe. We're going to get Alex saying the exact same thing. But the way Rocky says it here, he says, I wrote it down. I'm going to take my t-shirt and hang myself from a palm tree, which is very colorful. And then
very
Alex,
descriptive. He has thought about this method. He has thought about how he was going to get out of this situation.
Yeah. And obviously a very uncomfortable metaphor, but I'm just saying that's how he says it. Alex just says like, kill me now. These people are crazy, like whatever. Yeah. And it's just like, it's so much better the way that Rocky says it because he's a colorful commentator. So if in my guess, I mean, I know the Boston comparison's probably like 2-1 for 1, but I think they're looking like they were probably casting him as someone like closer to Boston Rob, somebody who's going to give these colorful confessionals, who's like abrasive and probably hard-headed like Boston Rob is. And to me, he just feels like a really cheap Boston Rob knockoff with hanger issues.
Really? I thought it was really, this is gonna sound funny now, but if I was gonna do like a 1-by-1 comparison of him with another contestant, like a previous contestant, my mind immediately went to Shane Powers, but on a way worse tribe. Like
Okay. Yeah.
that same type of outburst. Apparently, so from what we've learned from like future interviews, Rocky actually had recently quit smoking like around the time that the show
Okay.
was starting, which is very similar to what Shane went through during his time. But I think Shane actually just like quit like the day of or something. It was crazy. Yeah, I don't know. But either way, so there's a lot of similarities in that. But if I'm thinking of like what contestant does Rocky actually remind me of, Shane Powers is the first one that comes to my mind. I don't think they were necessarily thinking like this is going to be our next Shane Powers, but I do think that they were going along that around that line of like this guy's going to make for some very entertaining television. And I like what you said, Josh, too, about how you worded it with him being a colorful commentator, because that is Rocky to a T.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And this is my conspiracy theory. I know we got a lot to get to, but I'll just say this. I'll say it here while on the topic of Rocky. My actual conspiracy theory is that there were only 18 people that were supposed to be on the season, not 20. And instead of, I think the Melissa McNulty stuff's made up. I think they took 18 people and they're like, okay, here's the twist. You know, it's not really the haves not things. It's what if we put toxic masculinity in as the 19th person of the season? we just put, we have 18 normal people, and then we just put in toxic masculinity embodied in one human form and just put them out on the island with people. And that's the twist this season. Cause that's really what it feels like. Is everybody just has to navigate Rocky and work around him.
Yep. That's a whole other challenge with Ravu. I'm wondering how Rocky would be on the Moto tribe. Cause that would be a lot more interesting to see. Cause like at this point we get it. He's losing everything. Well, I think he'd be in a better mood if he won more and was actually eating. So, but I don't know where he would be on that Moto hierarchy, but that would be interesting to see. Anyway, and also he's like getting along with Anthony here. He's like complaining to Anthony about all of the talking that Rita and Michelle are doing. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I guess they're on good terms now, or that he like has exhausted Mookie's resources of like Mookie's ability to listen to Rocky complaining. But I guess him and Anthony are cool now. So good we forgot episode's 4 storyline completely here. So good news. This was kind of funny. There's like bonding over how annoyed you are with other people is a great way to make alliances. So this worked for me. But so now, okay, we got to talk about Moto. Because Moto's a lot. Okay, so there's a lot to get through here, but it leads to one of my favorite confessionals of all time, but also in this episode specifically. So last episode, we learned about Moto's 5-person alliance that was happening there, which was between Lacey, Stacy, Edgardo, Boo, and Alex. Mm-hmm. We don't know too much about it other than like from Lacey's perspective, just saying that it was this unspoken bond. They all get along. They hadn't up until that point really had to like put this alliance into action because they had been winning everything. But in episode 4, we saw 2 of the outsiders in Liliana and Gary no longer be in the game. Gary from the medevac and Liliana from being voted out. So we start actually getting that new we start getting to learn more about the dynamics of the Moto tribe here. But now we are getting what I would say is an even uglier side to what we saw in the previous episode, which was Lacey's awful comments about Liliana and about Gary being sick. But now we have gotten to a point where there are only 2 outsiders left on the Moto tribe that are not in this 5-person alliance, and it is Dreams and Cassandra. And they are on the outs, and it is not a secret to anybody that they are on the outs. And we get a lot of comments here about how, you know, they know they're going to get voted off, like, but it's a game and we're all adults here, so we can just be real about it and everything. And they know that they're going to get picked off. It's a really uncomfortable montage here because it's just very abundantly clear that at this point in the game, they are so comfortable in their position that they don't see, and this is specifically Stacy and Lacey that we see being particularly problematic in their treatment of Dreams and Cassandra, but they're talking about how, like, they just need to accept their fate and hope we move to the next round. Now, they are very comfortable in their position to the point where they are not talking to Dreams in like a respectful way. They don't want to they don't want to show him how to use the French press that they just won, that Stacy did not help them win, mind you. Let us bring that back for a second. And for some reason, they don't think that this could potentially impact their game. And I think part of this really comes down to something that will matter later on, especially, but them underestimating the strategy and the intelligence of both Dreams and Cassandra. So they see this as a done deal. Now, Alex recognizes what the problem here, other than the fact that he just doesn't like the behavior that is taking place ahead of him, but strategically, that depending on when they merge, Dreams and Cassandra are not bonded to them, and if they don't see a reason to work together, once they merge, they could very well just flip over to the other side, and all those numbers that they worked hard to maintain from winning all of these challenges aren't going to mean anything. Yeah. And he tries to relay this to Lacey, Stacy, and Boo to an extent, and they are not getting it. This is, as much as I hate seeing the treatment of Dreams and Cassandra, I gotta admit, this montage of Alex trying to explain math to them was so funny, because they do not understand at all, like, how this could possibly go wrong for them.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. This is what I was alluding to earlier when I was saying Earl was thinking on a different level, and then there's somebody else. Like, Alex is like thinking of like the game, like he understands like what's ahead of them, and he's trying to explain it. And this is the most basic Survivor math like you could do. Like, this is nothing complicated. This isn't an idol split. This isn't planned voodoo. This isn't any. This is literally just like, hey, we should be nice to people because we could get swapped.
Yeah,
the merge can come. We might need these relationships to move forward. And yeah, he's just like, I mean, yeah, you go Boo, Stacy, and Lacey all just blank stares at him. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, does not compute.
It's
and also like this, it's really not a hard concept, because he's saying like, okay, let's say we merge and there's 3 people left on Ravu when they merge, and they keep winning everything, and there's going to be 7 people. All they need is Dreams and Cassandra to flip over to the other side, and it's 5-5. Mm-hmm. And when he says this to Lacey, she just says, cool. Like, yeah,
cool.
That's it. Cool. And he's like,
no, it's not cool.
Not cool. It's absolutely not cool. There's no majority then. It's just going to be a tie. So they were not understanding how this could possibly go wrong. And it seems like the only ally that Alex has in this dilemma is Edgardo. We don't see a ton of Edgardo here, other than he seems just kind of like a right-hand man to Alex, and like their thinking. I think probably because they just think that Alex is a really good confessionalist. And like you said, Josh, he is thinking about this game in a long-term perspective, as opposed to some of his alliance mates at this point. But it's very uncomfortable. We get shots of like Lacey and Stacy not wanting to teach Dreams how to use the press, but they're critiquing how he's making his coffee. Their Dreams and Cassandra are sitting at a separate table from them, away from that elaborate shelter. They're, it's like a whole thing, and Dreams is like, saying like, okay, if you're going, you can say these things to my face, like you don't have to do like the backhand thing. So not only it's bad enough that they're treating them this way, but Dreams and Cassandra are well aware of what is going on here. And I think that's where this difference of opinion is like, or difference in perspective is really important, because they're well aware of what's happening, and I don't think everyone in Moto believes that is the case. And I think that they are severely underestimating the intelligence of Dreams and Cassandra.
It's like Alex understands karma, or at least just treating people correctly. Like, that's like the best way to put it. Like, he comes off like a pretty decent dude from what we've gathered from 5 episodes. Like, and like it's so mean not watching how they treat Dreams, the French press. French presses aren't easy.
I do not know how to make a French press to this day.
And like,
in solidarity with Dreams, I refuse to learn.
But it's just that thing of like, they spend just like 2 minutes of the episode like being like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, while they're like pressing their coffee, like, and having a great time while getting like their nails done by the person that they got hired to do nails for this house. That's a bad joke. There's no person that was hired to do nails in Fiji, but basically there is in theory. But it's just like no one it's like everyone's like, Dreams will be like, the energy that they're giving Dreams is like, you're the next one gone. Yeah. And we want you to know that. And it's like, at least try to make him feel comfortable.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. This is like, I know there's like a questions of like bullying when it comes to like Rocky and Anthony and that kind of stuff for the season, but like this stuff like here is just pure bullying. Like they have power over another human being, and they are reveling in exerting that power over another human being. And that is the definition of bullying. And so it's hard to watch, like, honestly, like, because it feels to me also, I know it's like, this is very interpretive or reading between the lines, like it feels somewhat like racially motivated as well. Like, I don't know how exactly Cassandra and Dreams found themselves on the outs of this tribe, but it feels like they're just, I don't know, it just feels very uncomfortable and it's hard to watch.
Yeah, and I do think there is some racial bias in here, Josh, so thank you for bringing that up too. But even in the previous episode, we get some language that some of it was outright racist, and others that were that seemed like more microaggression. So we get like Lacey saying, you know, like, oh, all we know is just that we get along, that we have a bond, and that, you know, there's just, you know, it's just like this unspoken, like, getting along with each other between the core 5 on Moto currently. So there, and I think some of that does come from cultural similarities with there was we didn't see Cassandra's confessional that episode, but I went back and looked at her voting confessional from the previous episode, and her vote for Lacey was actually because she felt that Lacey was speaking Spanish as a way to divide the tribe, like, so that Cassandra could not like understand what they were talking about. So it's things like that. But then also we saw kind of what Lacey, you know, we saw how Lacey's mind works when she's talking about Liliana's Mexican heritage in a really demeaning, racist way. So I do not doubt that this is that like there is some implicit and explicit bias going on here. Yeah. However, there is a silver lining of hope here that I want to get to, because this is the thing that makes up for how sad I was during this segment here. And I'm very excited about it. So, you know, once again, we're seeing a lot of this from the perspective of the core alliance in Moto, of the 5. But we haven't heard a lot from Dreams and Cassandra specifically. So, you know, it's just kind of like a lot of presumption of like, okay, so what do they think about this? And when I say this alliance of 5 has no tact, they basically, after Alex finally gets it through their head, like, please be nice to them, they almost immediately like turn on the nice switch and are like, guys, we just got to keep winning. We're going to be 7 strong to the end. And it's like, you can't be 7 strong to the end. That's just like not how Survivor works. But that, you know, like we just got to keep winning and stick together through the merge. And like, any idiot can tell what you're doing here immediately afterwards. Like, you were upset, you know, you were not talking to me or not looking me in the eye like 2 minutes ago. You did not treat me as like worthy of your breath at this point. But now all of a sudden we're talking about how we got to stick together and that's super important for all of us. Then we get to Dreams, finally, with one of my favorite confessionals ever. And I'm going to just paraphrase.
Genocide!
I love. So, let me see, actually. Let me see if I can find the full confessional because it's so good. Or, Josh, do you have the
I wrote it
confessional?
down. Yeah. I wrote this one down too.
Oh, yeah. Can you actually, do you want to just say the full confessional, actually? Because I wrote down the two sentences that really stick out to me, but I think it's good to get the full experience here.
Yeah. I wrote this one down. It was too good. All right. Yeah. Dream says, saying genocide and wiping out Ravu, that's just part of the game now. That's like poker. You're bluffing, acting like you got something when you don't. They always talking about, hey, it's the game, it's just strategy. So I'm just going to show them I can't wait to the day when I can put on my snakeskin boots and show them strategy.
I love that confessional. It is so good. And yeah, so another part of that, they say when the merge comes, and this is, again, I'm sure that like Alex has not said any of this to Dreams or Cassandra's face, but Dream says when the merge comes, me and Cassandra are going to leave and go with the other tribe. They say, I'll say it's just a game. It's strategy. I can't wait for the day to show them strategy.
I love
that is what I am talking about. That is good. That is the good shit right there.
Oh, it's so good.
Yes, it was so good because Dreams is playing right now. Dreams is, and I'm sure Cassandra is too. I'm a little sad that we don't get to see Cassandra's perspective on this, but because we are talking about it in the context of the All Black Alliance, we know that Dreams and Cassandra are thinking about, at the very least, like, okay, once the merge comes, like, hopefully Anthony and Earl are still there. So we have some type of relationship to look forward to over there. But also, even if the All Black Alliance was not in play here, Ravu's losing everything. They're going to take what they can get. And Dreams and Cassandra are more than willing to flip over to the other side now. And they are just waiting for their moment to leave Moto, to leave the Moto tribe. And it's so good. It is just, if this was a modern season, this would be the quote that is posted all over Twitter that we are getting repetitive reminders of in here, that we'd get flashbacks to it of like, you should have treated me better when we were on Moto. Like, this would have been like such a strong moment throughout the whole season. It's so good. It's amazing. And I just really, I have a lot of Dreams moments that I really like. I just did a podcast on Dreams as a character, but this confessional right here is like the antithesis of why I love him as a player so much.
I really wish you got him for more than one season. He's great. He's a great player. He's great at confessionals. I love him. I haven't had a chance to see your podcast yet, but I can't wait to get because I know how important he is to you, and like rewatching this season so far has like made me realize how damn good Dreams is.
Yes.
Like in that weird, like the way his A is, it kind of feels a little like Jesse's edit from 43 a little bit.
It does.
Not as like, I mean, it's still early, and Jesse's didn't get crazy until like the merge. But like it feels like that, where it's like this is something you can root for. He's got a different story.
Yeah.
He's in it for the right reasons, at least, like I love it.
Yeah, and it also connects back to Dreams confessionals earlier in the season as well, where he was talking about his experience being homeless and how the camp at Survivor was a little better than being home because he knew that there was going to be food. He knew that there was going to be a shelter to look forward to. Yeah. And that the thing that sticks out to me from those confessionals regarding Moto as a tribe is that he says that this tribe doesn't know what it's like to suffer. And I think at the end of the day, from what we have seen from Dreams in the context of the Moto tribe, is that he has a lot more empathy for like how lucky they are to be here and just for like the tribe around him. And I don't think a lot of the players that are left on that tribe are feeling that way. They might have empathy for people in real life, but they are just far too cocky, far too confident, and they're not looking at the bigger picture of like, what will happen when Dreams and Cassandra do not have to play by Moto's rules, that they do not have to just be enjoying the ride to the merge, hopefully. So there's a lot of questions, and once the season is done, we'll be able to talk more about them extensively, but this is a huge moment in the season that rarely gets talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've talked about it with Rocky. Like, Rocky can't help himself, right? As as you talk about every episode with Rocky, like, he just can't help but just yell and scream and all that stuff. And what I just love about this, and this is an incredible Survivor strength, is when you're somebody who can just shut up, and Dreams knows exactly what's going on. He's telling us in confessionals, but to them, he's just like, he's like, okay, could someone teach me how to be make coffee? Hey, you guys, can someone just say this to my face? Like, he's not like combative. He's not like fighting, to the same degree that they're antagonizing him. He's just biding his time. Him and Cassandra are making sure that they perform well in challenges so that they don't get voted out. And then, then they'll make their moves when they can, regain some power in the game. And it's just, just the ability to just sit there and take it like he and Cassandra are doing right now. And then just, again, they have stuff under the surface, but they're not letting anyone see it yet. And, it's just, that's incredible Survivor play right there.
Yeah, I wish we just got more emphasis on this about like why they are so assured. I'm guessing from the fact that we have not seen a confessional from Cassandra regarding this dilemma that they're having here, that Cassandra is also on board to flip whenever, especially when Dream says me and Cassandra. So you can assume they are having this conversation together. And, I apologize if I'm just kind of filling in the blanks here with it, but this is such a good moment for Survivor Fiji, and like such an important moment for the direction of the season moving forward. And like we're about to get into a tribe swap, so I'm very excited to talk about how some of those dynamics are going to come in play once we get to this next episode as well.
Yeah.
And then, so that's about, I think that is, that's the last thing we get before the immunity challenge. And guys, the immunity challenge is the matching game, and I love when they do
my
this.
Favorite.
It's never not great TV, not because of the game itself, but because of the players in all of their glory. And it does not disappoint here. And they were, even though I knew what happened here, it was so close that I was like, well, maybe Ravu will win this one. Maybe they will. And even though I knew they didn't, it was so good. And I do want to say, I like what they did with this, where they put 4 dummy symbols in there as well. So there were some that didn't have any matches, and I liked that a lot. I liked how they did this challenge. I thought it was a really fun one. It's pretty simple. And I thought that, this was very close. We were hoping Ravu would get the win here. At least I was hoping that they would, just to avoid, let them have a win. But that also would probably mean that Dreams and Cassandra would, or Cassandra, probably Cassandra would be voted out. So I'm sorry, Rita, but this is for the best for
she'll have a moment later, a few years later, on another CBS show.
Yes, exactly. So Rita, this was just not your moment. I apologize, but she was great along the way. But it comes down to the wire, and it was so intense, for a moment where basically they go back and forth a lot. Some people do really well, some people don't. I also liked the rule that they couldn't coach once you were off the platform. You can't give hints. That's how Lisi ended up losing their turn, because the tribe was I'm guessing it was just kind of like a quick reaction that when she was going to the wrong one, they were like, no. And obviously you can't do that. But I liked how this matching game in particular was constructed, and I really enjoy this part of it, even though it did end up with yet another Ravu loss. I still really enjoyed it. But also, the interesting part here is that guess who loses the match point here for the match game?
I'm starving, bro.
Oh, Rocky. Oh, Rocky, how the turntables, Rocky. What does it feel like for you to be the one with losing the match?
He's just
No.
shaking, like
Yeah, it wasn't Rocky though. He explains later it wasn't him. It was all the chaos and everybody else yelling at him that made him lose. So really, it's not his fault at all.
I'm like,
sorry.
No, Mark, you go first.
Because like we're forgetting the funniest thing that happens in this whole episode.
Oh my God, yes. Please talk about it. Please elaborate.
All right, so and I'm going to use like my beautiful, colorful storytelling language for this. So it's Lacey's turn, and she comes off the platform and promptly face plants, and then we get reaction shots of people, and we get a shot of her not moving. She doesn't move. She's dead for 2 seconds, and then she gets back up, and you're like, I literally wound it twice and timed it like the second time I was watching. So I'm like, they just gave it the edit of she just like broke something or something serious happened, and like literally, like it's literally 2 seconds. The camera's on her face plant, and you see reaction shots. Like, oh my God, is she okay? Is she okay? And then like immediately gets back up. But like her soul left her body while she was walking, or she got smited for being a horrible human being. I don't know, but give me more bad Survivor people falling and embarrassing themselves.
Oh my God, it was that was Liliana's karma right there at work. I love it. Yes.
On like dirt.
Yeah, that was her karma at work. Our silent queen, Liliana. Love you, boo. Hope you're doing well. I hope she's thriving right now, just in general. Yeah. I don't know what she's up to, but I hope she's thriving. And honestly, this is another thing I love about Fiji is that they have a lot of challenge funny moments. A lot of that we haven't even gotten to some of the best ones yet, but it's coming. It is coming, and this is just a lovely season. I enjoy the entertainment value knows no bounds here. But and honestly though, Rocky does, in a way, kind of own up to his mistake way more than I expected from Rocky. And maybe it's just like I shouldn't be giving him any benefit of the doubt anyway. But also, I kind of see where he was coming from and like that he kind of just, I think he did the right thing in owning up that like, yes, he messed up and he apologized. Do I believe that he, it's because everyone else was mumbling that he lost? No, I think he screwed up, and he should think about that with how he treated Anthony when he lost the match point during the eating contest. But I think that this was just like I think in terms of like, if you lose the challenge, what is the way to address it? I think Rocky actually did a fairly good job here. It is kind of funny for him, like talking over Rita every time she's trying to like assure him that like, it's fine. We all mess up. So like, it's nice, but also did he learn his lesson? Probably not.
No.
It was still, I chuckled at this though. Like Rob was just a mess, but there are mess at this point.
They're weirdly endearing. Like, like I feel like Moto is just very much like, oh, look at my silver platter. They gave me a silver platter with this brand new bed and a car. We'll get there later. But like, it's just like, I feel like it's so easy to cheer for Ravu from like what they have. They're living in a cave with holes now around it because Man's digging everywhere.
Yeah, I honestly would prefer to have a cave for a shelter though. Like that's like that's the nicest part of the Ravu camp. Like I would personally love a cave for if I was on Survivor. I don't know what you guys think about this.
I'm pro cave. I'm pro cave.
I'm a little anti-cave because I'm pro shelter off the ground. And typically when seasons have caves, that people get so lazy and they don't want to build a real shelter. So then they're just sleeping on the ground, which just freaks me out with that anything could just like come up and bite me or slither over me or whatever. So ideally you want to build a shelter in the cave, but people never get around to doing it.
So you want like a little platform to sleep on top of inside your cave.
Yeah, that'd be ideal. But I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Well, let's do it. Us three, final three. Survivor 45.
Oh my god. Oh, I wish they would bring back the shelter building challenge for the mess of it all. Like nothing will ever top All Stars, but also like that's the only time I'll ever say that sentence, but I still feel like I still feel like there is hope there. I wish we had more of that. Or like the make an SOS sign or something. Like
That's
there's
a fun one,
ways
yeah.
around it. Like those are good ones.
Yeah.
So
I'm sad
once
that Jeff's cowboy hat doesn't come back much more after this season.
Yeah, this was truly the end of an era here. It's very unfortunate. And so we get to the rest of Ravu, and it seems like once again it will be down to Anthony and a woman, and this time it's Rita. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Anthony. You do not deserve this. But also,
no.
So oddly enough, Rocky is very much pro keeping Anthony over Rita at this point. I don't know what happened in the past 3 days, but he is over it.
Could it be like strength? Like, I know that Anthony is weak, but so is Rita. Like, I'm putting quotes here for the listeners. I'm not like calling anyone weak. I'm weak myself. But like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Rocky would value a male strength over a female strength.
I don't doubt that, but I also just think he is genuinely just tired of Rita and wants to vote her out. I don't think there's any aspect of like keeping the tribe strong or challenge strength in his line of thinking. It is, and from what we have seen from this episode, it seems like he was like, Rita's annoying me. Anthony was annoying me 2 weeks ago, so I wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Now it's Rita. Rita's got to go. And I think there is significantly less pushback in voting out Rita over what the previous option was, which was between Anthony and Sylvia, which I think Sylvia was more of an obvious target. So it seemed like, why would you vote for why would we vote out Anthony when we have someone that came into our tribe late? But also I think that like with Rita at this point, if Rocky is not pushing for it, if Rocky is not pushing for Anthony to go at this point, it's kind of like, okay, like we finally could come to a consensus here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But it does seem like, I did want to point this out too, because this is probably one of the first conversations we get of Yao Man during a tribal council segment, where Mookie is talking with him and asking about what he would like to do. And Yao Man says he would like to get rid of either Anthony or Rita. And when Mookie pushes the further and asks like, well, which one? And he says, it doesn't matter to me because I don't think either of them will change how the tribe operates. And I really like this answer from him, for him forming this connection. We can assume at this point he has a connection with Mookie, but we haven't seen Yao Man in like the strategy portion of like figuring out who to vote for quite yet. So it's kind of understanding about like how his perspective is at camp and how people are viewing his position on the tribe. And his answer, I think, was fairly good. It leaves room open so that people can lean towards a particular player if there's someone that they would be more willing to vote out. But then also with, it's not one of them. So they're not going to see Yao Man as a threat here. His answer about how, he's thinking about the tribe or like who's going to impact the tribe the most. When we get to his voting confessional, he says who is the most disposable, which is ouch, but also like, I guess that's fair for like a voting reason if that's what you think. So I think that I was excited to finally see some of Yao Man and it be very solid on my end. I think that he did a good job here.
Yeah, a wise philosopher once said that a villain is somebody who prioritizes the game over all things. That wise philosopher, of course, being classically Gia. But this is kind of a hot take, but Yao Man's kind of a villain. Like, I mean, he's calling people disposable. He's saying the reason, it doesn't matter to me which one of these two go. You can kind of track the rest of his season. If you put it out on paper, I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to spoil anything in specific, but I think, you know, he's somebody who really is very cold and calculating, but as a viewer, it's really fun to watch, and you get the sense that everybody out there really likes him. But he will cut people. He when given the chance, he will do the harsh necessary thing to win. And I think this is, just like you're saying, the first kind of peek into the Yao Man book of strategy.
Yeah.
He's a chaos. Like, I think he's very chaotic neutral. Most maybe chaotic evil, like slanted, just because it's more about for him than other people. But I love him. I think he's a great character, and I'm really happy that I've seen the season and now understand why he was brought back for Micronesia, because, like, again, he doesn't do much in Micronesia. But
I do really, and I'm glad that we're finally get to see a little bit more in like the strategy end, because we know that he's obviously going to be a well-loved contestant at this point. But
yeah,
I have seen very little in my rewatch of him in the early episodes about like where his position is in the tribe, and it seems like he's doing pretty solid right now, and I like that for him. I think that it's a good area for him to be in. And then immediately after he has this conversation, Michelle and Rita come, and obviously they're going to say they want to vote out Anthony, but they have a conversation about who they want to have voted out, and that 4 there would be the majority if they decide they want to get out Anthony. But then they also say, let's make sure you tell Rocky. So a couple assumptions here with it, that I think that it shows to me that Earl and Anthony are a clear duo on the tribe, because this is the first time we have heard a plan that did not involve Earl on this in Ravu's vote so far, and that they didn't want to bring the idea of him voting out Anthony to him. At least that's what I'm getting from the edit. It's possible I'm reading far too much into this. And also that the core 4 that have been voting together for so long, which is Michelle, Anthony, Yao Man, and Earl, there might not be as solid of a unit here, because when it comes time to vote, Michelle votes out Anthony over Rita, which seems to be the general consensus. Actually, it's a gender divide now that I'm looking at it. It's we get to tribal council, and it ends up being all the guys vote for Rita, and Michelle and Rita vote for Anthony. So it ends up being 5-2, and Rita is voted out. But it's very interesting to see the dynamics moving forward. And, you know, we get Ravu's kind of all over the place, and for good reason here, but there was a lot to pick up on that when we watch future episodes, you start connecting the dots a bit.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. And was there anything from Tribal Council or from the strategizing portion that came up for you guys, or is that pretty much cover it?
For me, that pretty much covers it. I mean, it wasn't like the longest strategy. Like, it's so weird, like how different strategy on Survivor is now versus then, like on like the edit. So I feel like now it's like 8 minutes now, and then it's like 3 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, I love the short Tribal Councils.
Mm-hmm.
They're so nice. I miss them so much. It was just everyone answers a generic question. Jeff reminds them about the idol clues. I forgot that like Yao Man had the title of this episode because it comes so late in the episode in Tribal Council, but it's very good. And then we get to the vote, and Rita voted, but we know why Rita's voted off of that. Like, we understand why the tribe came to the consensus that it did. So we are very sad. Rita is voted out. She is out of the game for good. Love you, Queen. Very sad to see you go. She also follows the Survivor Diversity campaign. So, you know, we love her for that. Yes. And these are Rita's final words. I'm really surprised and I'm sad at the result tonight, but I understand that it's a game. I really tried to stay true and honest, and I did trust my alliances, so maybe I was just too nice to play the game. But if that's the case, I leave this game feeling very proud. I just hope that I made my kids proud, because that's the main reason that I did this. So, nice person. Maybe not the best Survivor player, but who is? Certainly not me. So, she has played more time. She has played more days in Survivor than I have. So, who am I to judge?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She seems like a very nice person. She took her loss in stride, and I think that she was a very calm presence during her time on the show. I wish we saw a little bit more from her perspective, but that's sometimes what we get with these pre-merge boots, and it's unfortunate. But thank you, Rita, for your time in the game.
Like, she seemed like a cool person. I mean, like, look, she has a Wikipedia page, which not many people in this season have a Wikipedia page.
Woo! We love her for that.
Yeah, and like it's like all very much, hey, she was a model. She's a model. She was on The Price is Right after Survivor. Watch that clip. Josh shared it for us earlier. It's quite the clip.
I'll tweet it out. Yeah, follow at Josh Kettles. You can see the clip of her kneeing what's his name, Drew Carey in the nuts
after winning it on the show. It's like, thanks for the money, knee in the nuts.
I love that for her. She is truly living her best life, and we love to see it. Are you two ready to get to the awards of the episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's time. It is time. Last one was so dark, and I'm that we can move past the Lacey of it all to talk about this.
I mean, we have Ari Ferrari on the episode. You know it's gonna get dark.
No, it was the content of the episode, but it was rough. Begrudgingly relinquished the win of the episode to Lacey, but it was very close. I almost did not do it. I still kind of hate myself for that. But we're moving on. We're on episode 5 now. So guys, what to you was the best confessional of the episode? We talked pretty in depth about quite a few of them. So there are a lot of good options here.
I really love the Fresh Prince, Good Times confessional from Earl. It's one of the things I love about Earl as a character. He's so relatable. And like getting to my heart, easiest way to do it is from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's one of the easiest ways to get to my heart. And it really is. That's the Fresh Prince house of shelters, and it's just a good confessional.
It was such a good comparison.
Yeah, and then comes later, right after that, the French press of Bel-Air, right?
I love it. Is Dreams the French press of Bel-Air?
I mean, it has to be, right?
He is,
Possibly.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a good one. All right, Josh, best confessional.
I'm torn. I love Dreams. I like this poker metaphor, talking about putting on snakeskin boots, about to show them strategy. I just think I already talked up why it's so important of like a moment, or like why it's such a good strategic content as far as confessional goes. But it's just like, again, it's that way to articulate yourself so colorfully that I talked about with Rocky, but here with Dreams, it's just like to talk about, I could just see him, right? He's talking about poker, putting on his snakeskin boots, and he's just like, it reminds me of some of those epic confessionals like from Tony in season 40 when he's talking about his, I'm gonna let my guard down slower and slower, and they're not gonna see me punch them till the end. It just feels like that. Like he's like, I know what's going on. I'm calm, cool, collected, but they're not gonna see it coming when I show up later. So I loved it.
It was such a good one. And 2, I agree with you that is one of my favorite confessionals of all time, but because I want to represent all of the great confessionals we had this episode, I'm also going to add Earl for the talk about his forming an alliance with Yao-Man one, where he wants to build trust with Yao-Man, because I think that's the big 3 this episode for me, of like the confessionals that I really enjoyed, the ones that stuck with me, and the ones that I think are really important to the season or just funny. And I think these are good ones. And I'm glad that we all picked something different so we can really represent the wealth that this episode brought us. So that one was good.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then funniest moment.
Well, we know Mark's.
I'm sorry if you fall in a funny way, I'm gonna laugh. I'm a very basic human being, and Lacey is really terrible in so many different ways. As a character, as a person, I have no idea because I haven't met you. But as a character, watch you fall off that foot tall platform brings joy to my heart. I'm a horrible human being. I'm sorry. Your soul left your
Oh no,
body.
I love that moment. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I think the
We're
only
terrible people.
I think the only moment for me that comes close to that, I think I would say the same, but is Alex, the sequence of Alex just getting so
Oh
frustrated with
yeah.
everybody,
Oh,
which we touched on. So those are the two for me.
Alex's conversation with Lacey is pretty funny in
Yeah.
retrospective things because it seems so simple as Survivor fans, and she's just not getting it. Alex, so I'll put Alex trying to explain math. That's what I'm putting. I
He was
will
still
also.
feeling it after the fall. Oh, that was before, right? No.
I will also put Lacey falling because I love when I can laugh without guilt. And I feel like I do that often with Rocky on my screen, where there's times where I'm laughing and I'm like, I should not be laughing right now. That was awful. But with Lacey falling, I feel no guilt. It was a very funny moment. And she was fine afterwards. So it's not a bad thing. It's not like when Papa Smurf broke a rib. So this is fine. This is fine. I loved it.
Can we give an
0 notes.
Can we give an honorable mention though to the start of the reward challenge with Rocky snapping, ripping off his shirt, and then like starting like and immediately getting eliminated? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. Rocky fighting. It's just that's always for as long as Rocky's in the game, that's just always going to be a thing.
So I had no idea he was a weird character at all until I did my first watch. I've always been told his name like in like a decent way. So it's very weird out when I'm like, this guy kind of sucks.
Toxic masculinity embodied. I mean, honestly.
My thoughts on Rocky go back and forth with each episode. It's just a lot of whiplash right now because he can be very funny sometimes, but also some of the things he says and acts, I'm just like, oh my God, please.
Please starving, bro.
Exactly. One more time for everyone back home.
I'm starving, bro.
That was good. I love the emphasis on it. That was a perfect one. That was great. Okay, guys, the big award. Who wins the episode? There are a lot of good candidates here.
There's also like good characters that are like good, but like not great in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I initially watched it, part of me wanted to give it to Anthony because I feel like his spur of confidence was really strong. But talking through everything and rewatching this episode closer, I have a few other candidates that I think had a stronger presence and are in a better position moving forward. It's hard to predict for, who is going to be in good positions when a tribe swap is at hand because there's so many other factors. And obviously we have a little bit of advantage because we know how the tribes are going to be split up in this next episode. But I do think that like there are a couple players to me that really stood out here for all the right reasons. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this before I give mine.
Okay. Do I go first, Josh, or should I?
Go for it.
Okay. I've been battling this whole hour and a half between two different names, and it was between Earl and Yao-Man, but I feel like the episode Yao-Man had, even though like it's a lot of very like I'd say like 90% good and like 10% bad for everything for him. It's like, oh, he scores the 1 point in the reward challenge, but it's also against like a person that he feels bad about doing. He gets a chance for the idol, but he doesn't find it. I feel like Yao-Man's in such a good spot right now, and we're finally getting Yao-Man content, and it's like nice content. I'm an educator for those that don't know. I'd say Yao-Man gets the winner for me.
Yeah, that's a lot of good points. I think it's between Yao-Man and Earl. Like I said before, like the two big strategic quotes of the episode I think are bookended with Earl's at the beginning of the episode and then Yao-Man's at Tribal Council when he's saying the title of the episode, love many, trust few, do wrong to none. And I think I'm gonna give it to Earl though, my vote, because we talked about the first few minutes of the episode for like 15 minutes when we got started here. Like there was so much good that Earl was doing. He's helping Yao get the idol. He's not being possessive about it. He's realizes the best thing he can do right now is build a close ally and help Yao get the idol. He's taking the tribe out, and him and Yao are on this like same wavelength about what's going on there, even though they're not communicating explicitly. And then I think on top of that, like he also this episode does get to move forward with Anthony, somebody who he's really aligned with. And so he, it seemed like it was close. Yao saying, I can go either way, both of them are disposable. Yao's words, not mine. But Earl's the one who gets to move forward with another person in this game that he's close with and is aligned with. So I think Earl gets the slight nudge for me for that reason.
Yeah, so I do want to give some honorable mentions to both Alex and Dreams, who I think also had really strong episodes here. Dreams, even though I think he's not in a great spot currently on Moto, he did have, we talked about it extensively, but he has a really good mind for the game. He is well aware of his position on Moto and what he needs to do when the opportunity strikes for him to move forward in the game. He's well aware he's not falling for any of the tricks that Moto is poorly trying to instill upon him, but still nonetheless, I think that Dreams is a really strong character, and I think Alex, as we said before, is thinking about the game in a much more extensive perspective than a lot of the Moto tribe. Perhaps him and Dreams are the two that we have seen so far, and I'll throw in Cassandra in there just because even though we didn't see her confessional, it's clear that her and Dreams have thought about the future of the game for them. So I think those are the three on Moto currently that are really thinking about, maybe Edgardo too, that are thinking about the game long term, as opposed to the other ones on Moto. But I think that there were some shining moments from certain Moto members, but I think Ravu is still where we're getting a lot of the strategic content. Like this is the most we've seen of Moto outside of them voting out Liliana last episode. And I will say, taking everything into consideration, I still want to give it to a Ravu member. I do think that the stars of the episode were Earl and Yao Man, but I think I'm going to give it to Earl because my reasoning for this is that for all the reasons you said, Josh, that I do think that Yao Man should have pushed for Rita more for Rita to stay over Anthony, because Anthony seems more like Earl's ally than Yao Man's ally at this point. So if you're trying to form a duo with someone like what Earl and Yao Man are doing, and he has another duo in the game, I do think that it would have been wise for him. Maybe he did. We only see so much of the tribe dynamics, but I do think that he should have tried to lock down the idea of getting out Anthony over Rita to make Earl more reliant on him, and he did not do that. He also didn't find the idol. We know that he is well aware of where the idol is, but they have not found it yet, and I'm saving that particular win for when an idol is found by whomever should find it. And also, I just think that in terms of we're thinking of both Earl and Yao Man at this point, I think Yao Man is blunt. He has a good mind for a lot of aspects of Survivor, but if you had to ask me who was the stronger strategic player, Earl. Like, he has a real mind for the game, and we have seen a lot more of his strategic game thus far, and it's really heightened here. But I think that if we're talking about who is in a stronger position moving forward, even with the tribe swap at play, I feel good about Earl's capabilities. And I think we saw a lot of reasons to feel that here, to be confident in Earl's game moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's not just strategic, it's the social strategic, right? His influence over the whole tribe is obvious when he's able to just bring them all out on that hike and that adventure. And Anthony's so energized to climb the mountain with Earl. Like, all these people really like Earl, I think, and feel like he's like the leader of them. That's the sense I get. And so, yeah, I really feel like Earl is like, he's savvy and thinking through moves like we talked about, but also really, really good at connecting with people out there.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a really good point to make. So I do agree. I think that Earl it's very close. This might be the closest
Yeah.
that we've had to a winner this episode, but I think Earl just edges it out for me in this particular episode as like the winner of episode 5. So congratulations, Earl. You have won the episode 5 title. This was a much more joyous occasion than last one where I had to give it to Lacey. Fine, it happened. It was the correct choice, but I begrudgingly
I
so
mean,
you
look
know
at this. At least Josh and I didn't like be like pitching like the French press, you know, like as the winner.
the French press of Bel Air.
Because honestly, like the French press does help a lot in like when you think about like in things on the moto side. I've been joking about this because if you don't see Dreams having issues with the French press and them making fun of him for having issues with the French press, then like we don't get any of that great content of Alex being like we need to look out for him. So the French press is the winner of inanimate objects, I think. And that means the platform tripping Lacey.
Yes, those are also. I would love this. I want like a picture of Dreams and just like the fresh. Like if we ever get merch for Silent Podcast, I want a shirt of Dreams that says the French press of Bel Air. I would love that. To be determined. To be determined.
Isaiah, make it happen.
Oh my god! If you guys will never hear me shut up if we ever get merch because I have so many ideas. It'll be incredible. But before we
dumb ones, yeah.
But before we get carried away, thank you both so much. That concludes our episode 5 recap. I am so glad that we got more Silent Podcasters onto the Forever Fiji rotation. I'm very excited to have you guys here. Thank you both so much. And before we close out, Josh, where can people follow you? And is there anything that you would like to promote?
Yeah, you can follow me at Josh Kettles. Again, I'll be tweeting out Rita kneeing Drew Carey in the nuts. So I'd like to promote that. And then also, futurepastsurvivor.com. That's my Survivor podcast. We're in the off season, as you all are aware. And so no new content coming right now, but the next one will be the celebration of crossing over 1,000 downloads. So I'm very excited for that. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. And Mark, where can people follow you? And is there anything you'd like to promote?
Yeah, at Mark Levy 85 on Twitter, Instagram, which I finally have back after a week of horror. Letterboxd. Few things I want to promote. Josh and I just released a really awesome interview with Boone Langston, a person that became an instant icon during the pandemic. And we go deep in like Lego talk. And I've also interviewed a couple other Lego Master people, the judges, Jamie and Amy, and the most recent winners. And Josh and I also broke down the Celebrity Holiday Spectacular back in December. We're also looking for more guests. So if you are interested in like having us find previous players from Lego Masters that you want us to talk to, we'll gladly reach out to them and get them on the show. Also, Davey Sack and myself have been covering Survivor New York. Episode 2 just dropped the other day. We had alums Gary Dondre and Kai Ronayne on it, which was great. It was a lot of fun. And also coming up soon, Davey and I will be covering Outlast. And that won't be like a full, we'll be doing a couple episode chunks of episodes. And Gia, thank you. I always get so happy talking Survivor with you. It's like literally one of my favorite things to do. And to talk about Fiji, which is a season that I know means so much to you. And it's a season I like a lot. It felt really great being able to sit down and talk to you about it.
Thank you both so much. It made me so happy to hear that you both wanted to be a part of this podcast about a season that means so much to me. So I'm glad we got to make it happen. So thank you both so much. I'm sure this is not the last time we will all be podcasting together. And for those that do not follow me, shame on you. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Classically Gia for all of my reality TV shenanigans. This is a Survivor podcast, and we're talking about an all-Black alliance. So you should be following the Survivor Diversity campaign on Twitter at Surv Diversity. That's at SURV Diversity. My regular coverage of Survivor, including Inside Survivor and and Silent Podcasts version. I don't know about that podcast. Those are both on hiatus right now, but we will be back on March 1st with all of our normal coverage when Survivor 44 premieres. But you know what's back now? Abbott Elementary. So you can check me out at post-show recaps for mine and Chappelle's content. We are doing bi-weekly episodes, but we just talked about the premiere, and this past episode was also very funny, so I cannot wait to see what comes after. Thank you all so much for joining us on our wild journey of Fiji in this very important episode of Fiji Forever. Stay tuned. We will be talking about episode 6 shortly, and it is a bit of a game changer for many reasons. So thank you once again for the support, and stay tuned for more updates.